and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 overhyped series that I think was absolutely worth the hype. So if you have not watched my previous video, I did recently a video where I talked about 5 standalones that I think was worth the hype and the attention that it got, and today we're going to focus on 5 series that I think deserve the attention. So the first series that we're going to talk about is the Lunar Chronicles from Marissa Meyer. So these books hold kind of a special place in my heart, and that is because this was when I kind of first got back into reading after a long time. I've always been a reader kind of off and on, but never as much as now. And these books kind of got me into it. I had just found Booktube, and this was a while ago. This is about 5 years ago, and these books were really popular at that time. Every booktuber that I watched had them on their shelves, and I didn't really know anything about them. I just noticed how pretty they were on all the booktuber shelves. Like, if you look at the spines of the books, they really caught my attention. And I always saw Cinder, which is this one, and I just thought, like, I wonder what these are even about. So to be honest with you, I didn't even really know when I ordered these. I think I ordered them off of Book Outlet or Book Depository or something. And I got them for cheap, and I started reading them. And I believe it wasn't long after reading these that I decided to start my first BookTube channel. And yeah, so these ones hold a little bit of a special place in my heart. But basically, this is a series of 4 books, and then there's 2 kind of separate books that kind of, I don't want to say piggyback off of these ones, but they're kind of like companion books. So the first book is Cinder, the second book is Scarlet, the third is Cress, and the fourth is Winter. And then there is a companion book which is called Fairest, and there's also another one called Stars Above, which I have not read. I believe Stars Above is more of like a question and answer about the series book, which is why I didn't read it. But I have this one, obviously. So now, like I said, these are all retellings, but they all intersect together. So our first book is Cinder, which is a Cinderella retelling, and this actually follows a cyborg, which is really, really cool. But it says, Cinder, a gifted mechanic in New Beijing, is also a cyborg. Reveled by her stepmother and blamed for her stepsister's sudden illness. But when life becomes entwined with the handsome Prince Kai's, she finds herself at the center of a violent struggle between the desires of an evil queen and a dangerous temptation. Cinder is caught between duty and freedom, loyalty and betrayal. Now she must uncover secrets about her mysterious past in order to protect Earth's future. So that's our first book. So I read you the synopsis for Cinder. I am not going to read you the synopsis for the other books because I don't want to give anything away if you haven't read these. Because all of these books do end up intertwining and the characters intertwine with each other. So we've got Cinder, and then we've got Scarlet, which is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. And this is kind of an unpopular opinion because I know a lot of people say that this was their least favorite book out of the series, but this is my favorite book out of the series. So I don't know what that says, but basically then we meet Cinder in the first book, then we meet Scarlet, and Scarlet ends up meeting Cinder in a weird way. I'm not gonna spoil it. Next is Cress, and this is a Rapunzel retelling, and once again this character intersects with the other 2 characters, so I'm not gonna read you the synopsis for it. And lastly, we have Winter, which is a Snow White retelling, and then Fairest is actually the evil stepmother's book. You kind of get to see her perspective. So these are all super, super interesting. So each of these characters, we meet them in their own book. They all end up coming together to kind of fight a greater evil, I guess I'll say. But they come together, they all become friends, and I really, really enjoyed these. And this was the first retellings that I have ever read, and it kind of made me fall in love with retellings as well. Okay, so next is the Caravel series by Stephanie Garber, and I must say that, to be honest with you, this is kind of the same sort of thing. I saw everybody talking about Caravel Once again, everybody had this on their bookshelves, and I was intrigued by the cover. I just thought it was so beautiful, which it absolutely is. Like, that is a gorgeous cover, and I had no idea what it was about when I picked it up, but holy man, I'm so glad I did. This has become one of my favorite series of all time. So this was a trilogy, and then there's been a spin-off trilogy as well, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart, and that is this guy over here, but we're not going to talk about this today. I just wanted to let you know that there is a spin-off series for this if you didn't know. And the next book is going to be coming out pretty soon, which I'm excited for. But the first book is Caravel, and it follows our protagonist, Scarlet. And she ends up going to this, basically it's kind of like a carnival, and that she has always wanted to go to. So it follows her. Scarlet Dragna has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caravel, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long-dreamt of invitation finally arrives. With the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella whisks Scarlet away to the show. Only as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caravel's mastermind organizer Legend. It turns out that this season's Caravel revolves around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlet has been told that everything happens during Caravel is only an elaborate performance. Nevertheless, she becomes enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic. And whether Caravel is real or not, Scarlet must find Tella before the 5 nights of the game are over, or a dangerous domino effect of consequences will be set off and her beloved sister will disappear forever. So when I read this one, my best friend and I, on my old booktube channel, we used to do a series called Bestie Book Talk, and we would pick kind of like our own little book club, right? So we picked this was, I think, one of our first reads, or if not the first read, one of them, I think. No, it wasn't, but it was, I think, maybe third or fourth. And we both absolutely fell in love with this book. So this one follows Scarlet, and then the next book is Legendary, which follows her sister Donatella. And then the final book, Finale, which is my personal favorite, goes back and forth between the two girls. So, and both, like all of these books, all revolve around Caravel, around this performance, just in different times, obviously. So yeah, this book, this series is just so well done. I absolutely loved it. It just takes you into a whole different world, and you really believe that you're there and you want to be there. You want to meet these characters. They're so likable, and I just really enjoyed all of the characters in the book. Stephanie Garber has an amazing imagination, and these books are definitely worth the hype. Okay, so next is the Hazelwood series, and this is the first book that my friend and I did our Bestie Book Talks with. But it includes the Hazelwood, the Night Country, and Tales from the Hinterland. So I will say, okay, I loved these, but the main character, our protagonist, is quite unlikable in these books. So basically, this story follows our main character, whose grandmother she never really knew. Her grandmother was an author of these fairy tales, Tales from the Hinterland. And these fairy tales are they have kind of like a cult following. And the books are since out of print. And what our main character comes to find is that there's kind of like an alternate reality that she can get to where these stories kind of come to life. So we have an unlikable main character, but it's an adventure that's very, very interesting and fun and whimsical. And I mean, it's about real life fairy tales, right? So, but I will say, that I'm going to read the synopsis for this in a minute, but I will say this is the third one, the Tales from the Hinterland, and this is what I wanted after I read this. I read this one, the first book, and I immediately wanted this, and I was so happy that she actually did come out with this, and this is the book of fairy tales that is talked about in these two books. So all this is the actual book of fairy tales, and these fairy tales are just amazing. First of all, I have to say, like, the covers for these books are so beautiful, okay? But like, even the insides of them Like, how gorgeous, right? Like, it's just, I love it when books are this extra. It just takes it to a whole new level. So each fairy tale has different pages, and I love that. And like the inside of the book, I don't know, I just love that. But to get into the synopsis of this one, it says 17-year-old Alice Prosperine and her mother have spent most of Alice's life on the road, always a step ahead of the uncanny bad luck biting at their heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a book of pitch-dark fairy tales, dies alone on her estate, the Hazelwood, Alice learns how bad her luck can really get. Her mother is stolen away by a figure who claims to come from the cruel supernatural world where her grandmother's stories are set. Alice's only lead is the message her mother left behind: stay away from the Hazelwood. Alice has long steered clear of her grandmother's cultish fans, but now she has no choice but to ally with her classmate and fairy tale superfan Ellery Finch, who may have his own reasons for wanting to help her. To find her mother, Alice must venture first to the Hazelwood and then into the world where her grandmother's tales began, and where she might discover why her own story went so wrong. So, if you like fairy tales, this one's for you. Okay, guys, so now we're gonna kind of move genres a bit. We're gonna talk about a YA thriller series, or I guess, yeah, it is gonna be a series, I guess, because we just heard that she's going to be releasing a new book into the trilogy, I guess it's gonna be. But this is Karen McManus's One of Us is Lying. So I really enjoyed this one. I believe I gave the first book a 5 out of 5. I like the second one a little bit less, so we will see what the third one has to bring. But I listened to this one on an audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. It had an amazing narrator. But it says, pay close attention and you might solve this. On Monday afternoon, 5 students at Bayview High walk into detention. Bronwyn, the brain, is Yale-bound and never breaks a rule. Addie, the beauty, is the picture-perfect homecoming princess. Nate, the criminal, is already on probation for dealing. Cooper, the athlete, is the all-star baseball pitcher. And Simon, the outcast, is the creator of Bayview High's notorious gossip app. Think like Gossip Girl. Only Simon never makes it out of that classroom. Before the end of detention, Simon's dead. And according to investigators, his death wasn't an accident. On Monday, he died. But on Tuesday, he'd planned to post juicy reveals about all 4 of his high-profile classmates, which makes all 4 of them suspects in his murder. Or are they the perfect patsies for a killer who's still on the loose? Everyone has secrets, right? What really matters is how far you would go to protect them. So this one was so interesting because you see the book is written from each of the different characters' perspectives, and you really get to kind of know them, and like you get to see what's going on in their head, right? And they are telling you in their own minds like that they didn't do this, and you really truly believe that none of them did this. So you don't know what could possibly have happened because somebody had to have killed him. He was in the detention with them and then he died. So what happened? Somebody had to have done it. But you really believe in all these characters and you don't believe that any of them did it. So it's like a really good whodunit. And then the second book follows the main character's younger siblings, as there's kind of like a copycat situation going on. And then the third book that has just been announced is called One of Us is Back, and it's supposed to be coming out in 2023, and there is no, as of right now, there is no synopsis for it, so I'm interested. It just says coming your way in 2023, so I'm excited to learn about that one. But this one has been hugely hyped up. There's a Netflix spin-off TV show about it, so that just tells you how popular that it has been. And yeah, I definitely think this one was worth the hype as well. Okay, you guys, so the last series that we're going to talk about today is from Libba Bray, and that is the Diviners series. So this one is the Diviners. The second book is Lair of Dreams. The third book, really big, is Before the Devil Breaks You, and the last one is The King of Crows. So I have talked about these before, and I have said that I wish these books were a little bit, about 100 pages less. That being said, like, they're really big books. They're like 500-600 pages. That being said, I absolutely love, let me put these down. I'll just carry this one as I talk about this. I absolutely love the concept for these books. Like I said, they're a little bit wordy and they kind of, the pacing drags a little bit. I will be upfront and warn you guys about that. But I absolutely loved all of the characters in this. This is such a character-driven book. So if you like character-driven stories, this one is definitely for you. And even just like the setting and everything, you know, Liva Bray does such a good job of really researching her time periods that she's writing in and really making you believe that you are in that time period. So this is set in 1930s New York and you just believe that you're there. She did such a good job writing this. She definitely sticks in, she stays in character when writing this book. So you really like, she doesn't slip up. All the phrases and everything, all of like the fun like flapper clothing and stuff like that that was in style at that time, she references. There's lots of cultural references, lots of pop culture references, and it just, I just love, I mean, who doesn't love reading about the 30s, right? Like, it's just such a fun time. Like, I mean, at the time it was hard for people, so, but for us to, it's just fun. Like, it's just a fun time. And for this to be set in 1930s New York is just the perfect setting for this. And basically it follows a group of 17-year-old teenagers that kind of come together when they all realize that they each have divining powers. So they each have different things that they can do. And they're kind of brought together to fight a greater evil. So over the 4 books, they kind of fight different evils and kind of come together to fight an overarching evil in the last book. And it kind of like all leads up to that. But each book kind of focuses on different characters within the group. And you get to learn more about them and you kind of like focus on different characters in each book. So this first one focuses a lot on Evie, and it says Evie O'Neill has been exiled from her boring old hometown and shipped off to the bustling streets of New York City, and she is positively ecstatic. It's 1926 and New York is filled with speakeasies, Ziegfeld girls, and rakish pickpockets. The only catch is that she has to live with her Uncle Will and his unhealthy obsession with the occult. Evie worries he'll discover her darkest secret, a supernatural power that has only brought her trouble so far. But when the police call Will to the crime scene of a murdered girl branded with a cryptic symbol, Evie realizes her gift could help catch a serial killer. As Evie jumps headlong into a dance with a murderer, other stories unfold in the city that never sleeps. And unknown to all, something dark and evil has awakened. So I overall really did enjoy these books. And like I said, it's absolutely character-based. If you like character-based stories, you will love these. It just goes into such detail on each character and you really fall in love with each person and you just want them to succeed and you want them to be okay. And they're putting themselves in these dangerous situations and you're just rooting for them to succeed. And it's just, there's just so much good about it. Anyways, you guys, those are my 5 series that I think have been worth the hype. These are all books that were really talked up on BookTube and in mainstream media that I think deserve the attention and deserve you reading them if you have not done so. So let me know in the comments down below if you agree with my picks or if you disagree with them. And go ahead and hit the subscribe button on your way out if you did enjoy today's video. And I hope you guys are having an awesome day and I will see you in my next one. Bye!